What's going on there, folks? Good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster here on this Wednesday, May 11th, 2022 date, about 11:48 a.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 1.2 little microquake into the area of Southern California, where we have been seeing still a little bit of activity ramping up there in the southern portion of the state. I do kind of want to start off here real quick with the activity happening here on the sun. Got currently an R1 solar radiation storm coming in from a couple flares currently. Here's these GOES X-ray flux 1 minute data. And currently seeing a, looks like another M flare coming in as we speak. Let's go back here to the 1 day, and it looks like a pretty lengthy one as well. This one is heading up into the M2.2 range. I don't think it's peaked out yet. Earlier this morning we had another M flare, so that's it's getting active. It's definitely ramping up, and this is coming from, I believe, a couple different sunspots here. We got one flare popping off here on the far side of the sun, turning away from Earth, and also looks like another one directly facing Earth here on this sunspot. So a couple different sunspots kicking in as we speak at the same time. So things are getting pretty active on the sun. We got some further sunspots around the bend as well in the coming days, and of course coming weeks and years as we advance towards the solar maximum. Not to mention a coronal hole up here in the in this image of the sun that will be turning into view as well. So things could get pretty active here in the coming days. There is the global delayer absorption map showing the R1 storm kicking up, showing some radio blackouts around the North American area, and it looks like it's centered right over Mexico, Guatemala area currently on this map right here. So this kind of gives us an indication of the blackout area. High frequency radio waves around 30 MHz depend on reflection of the signals in the ionosphere. So a little bit of blackout going on there with this. We'll keep an eye on it for sure, but definitely things are ramping up. I'm kind of curious to see if this is going to top out yet or not. Doesn't look like it is. It's a pretty lengthy flare, and it looks like it may have a CME possibly associated with it. We'll see here once it's all said and done. All right, getting back to the earthquake activity. Looking at the latest here on the map, shows some movement here off the coast of Japan into the Japan Trench area. Somewhat deep, about 35 kilometers for that 4.4. And also seen another one here earlier this morning as well with a 4.6. So a little uptick here in this area. Getting a little bit of return of movement around the Philippine plate, looks like overnight here just south of Japan into the trenches here. You've got the Mariana Trench down here to the south and a couple other trenches up here to the north. This earthquake, 4.0 at 460 kilometers deep. So this one here ultimately kind of applying, you can kind of see it here. Let's go ahead and go back here and get this deeper earthquake movement with some subsequent shallower earthquake activity up to the north. And we're still kind of watching this Kuril-Kamchatka Trench here for some further large-scale movement. The Japan Trench did see some activity in the 6 range within the past couple months, and quite a few 5s as well, but there's still always that possibility of seeing something much larger within this area due to the high slip rate. Right around the Philippines southward, getting some activity in the 4 range once again, and including some super deep earthquakes here in this area. This isn't Fiji, this is just south of the Philippines. Look at that, almost 600 kilometers for a 4.4. Now I don't see that too often here in this area. I want to see what the historical data looks like for this region. And let's key it up here. Yeah, they definitely get some deep movement quakes, but it's been a while since I've seen anything that deep. Most of these dark circles, they're deeper than 300 kilometers. And of course, as you go up here towards the subduction zone interface there of the trench, it gets a little bit more shallower. But wow, that's definitely a lot of deep activity within this range since about 1900 But as I mentioned, it's just been a while since I've seen any in recent times. So a little bit of deeper activity out there in the sea. Java Trench showing some movement as well with a 5.0 on the northern end at 40 kilometers. And also down here, we got a 4.3 in the center part of the Java Trench. That one's pretty deep, 167 kilometers for that earthquake in that region. So a lot of activity taking place here over the last, I'd say last week, and specifically yesterday with all the widespread movement around the globe. Looking at the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and Fiji area, starting to notice some return of deep movement once again here in Fiji. 559 kilometers for the deepest one in this area at 4.2 magnitude. And Vanuatu, deep earthquake activity as well. I mean, it's just, we're watching a whole bunch of deep movement all across the western Pacific and areas up around the southern portion of the Philippine plate. Very active day down below. And that can only mean one thing. Watch for some larger scale movement at the surface levels here pretty soon. We haven't seen any further aftershock activity, but we have seen, like I mentioned on my video last night, and I kind of just mentioned it today, watch for the shallower uptick in movement towards the subduction zone areas, the interface up here, upstream if you will. Got to remember, the further inland you go, the deeper it's going to be. Like this 6.8 that struck yesterday, 193 kilometers. You go up, or at least on this map, to the west, you get to the shallower zones. 60 kilometers for 5.0. And down here, 131 kilometers, still deep, but further upstream towards the locked subduction zone areas with a 4.5 at 131 kilometers. So still watching this area pretty closely. There's a couple gaps here in historical data that's lacking any large-scale movement that has not ruptured, at least in quite a while. So there's always that possibility of seeing a much bigger, and I'm talking much bigger than 6.8, talking 8.0 or greater in this area. With all this activity that we've seen here, not only with this large deep 6.8, but the subsequent deeper earthquake activity we've seen within the last week there within the Bolivia area, but underneath, pretty deep, really deep. Let's see if I can bring that up here real quick and show you guys some movement. I know it's been actually, it looks like it's actually been over a week. There was the 579 kilometer deep 5.4. This one was into the Argentina area. I know we had a couple up here to the north. I believe that's been over the weekly time period. All right, let's go up here to the, well, let's go down to the South Sandwich Islands here. We did see that 5.4. This was yesterday. We have not seen any subsequent movement here following that 5.4 yesterday. Puerto Rico area has shown a noticeable increase in movement around the Puerto Rico area. Around the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Moriatos Trough, and the Puerto Rico Trench up here showing a little activity with some deeper movement there, 3.2 and a 4.0. 4.0 at 80 kilometers here, just outside the British Virgin Islands area. Let's check out the states where we're still seeing some movement ramp up, huh? Been ramping up pretty good, I'd say, all over the place, all over the world. North Carolina, or South Carolina, seen that 2.8 along with some other quakes there within the last 7 days. Had a little swarm of activity here, but nothing today. That earthquake there was from yesterday in the blue circle. Far as today's activity goes, it's up to the north in the North Carolina region where they've seen a 2.2 earthquake. That one pretty shallow at about 0 kilometers. Let's see if anybody reported it. It looks like 4 people felt it. A couple reports here around the Newton area and Hickory, but not a big earthquake, but it looks like a couple folks did report feeling that quake. New Madrid zone looks pretty quiet, folks. And I'm going to key up here. Let me bring up the New Madrid zone area. Stand by for just a second while I get this up and running. I got to bring this up here. I pulled up a bunch of seismograph stations here. Let's see if I can get it back over here to this map. There we go. This is the University of Memphis Center for Earthquake Research and Information. A lot of valuable links here, folks. I'm going to leave this here for you guys to check out because I want you guys to see the raw data when it comes to activity around the New Madrid zone. Seen a little bit of fear mongering out there, saying that there's some signatures of tremor activity around the New Madrid zone. But I want you to look at any of these seismograph stations here, and you can see that there is indeed no tremor activity taking place here within this area of the New Madrid zone. Got to remember, wind speed and stuff like that can also affect the activity that we're seeing here. And I don't see a whole lot of earthquake activity showing up throughout any of these seismograph stations. If anything, be distant earthquakes at that. Sometimes they can pick up the activity on the East Coast. But this activity in general, definitely not seismic. And I'm seeing these. Let me pop up this one here as well. I'm seeing these only on a couple different stations. Now, if these were seismic signatures popping up here, we would be looking at, and somebody probably could say this is, tremor activity, something moving down there, or magma, but it's definitely not. If that was the case, you got to remember, these stations are pretty close and back to back. We would be seeing that on quite a few of the other stations at the same time, but they're not there. There could be thunder. This area does see a lot of thunderstorms in this time of year, but far as seismic signatures it goes, I can't say that these are indeed earthquakes or any type of tremor activity. I was looking at these last night, and that's definitely not any type of tremor activity. This is Truman, Arkansas. Ooh, the Truman Show. You guys ever watch that movie? Pretty cool. I've seen it probably more times than I care to admit. Kind of feels like I'm on it right now. So Truman, Arkansas. You guys notice that little signature there? We'll go ahead and check out this other one. Nothing on this site. So you got to remember, if there's some type of tremor or ground movement, stations almost side by side next to each other should pick up that signature if it was indeed some type of earthquake activity, but it's not. In fact, it looks clear as a bell right now throughout the New Madrid zone in terms of earthquake activity. So just wanted to point that out. Sometimes a lot of people on the YouTube videos, they do post up a lot of stuff, and I go straight to the source, to the data, look at it myself, verify, see if there's any storms within the area, or if there was a frontal system or high winds out there, which do play a part. Okay, Yellowstone, let's check this out. You guys see this up here though? 4.2 earthquake. Silvergate, Montana. This one's actually just outside of the Yellowstone caldera to the east, and probably in an area where we had been watching a weird earthquake signature. Let me pop up, see if I can bring this up here real quick. Yellowstone seismograph stations. Now that's a pretty nice signature. That one showed up all across the park, folks. See that? Now, remember yesterday, we'll go ahead and pick, we'll choose this station right here, Holmes Hill. This was the 6.8 earthquake in the Argentina region yesterday, really deep. Okay, overnight, we see little small spikes of earthquakes localized, and then this earthquake right here. Look how well defined that earthquake is, and that is from the earthquake that struck over here along the eastern side of the park, which was a 4.2 earthquake. That one striking at 13:32 UTC time, about 5-6 hours ago or so, within the Yellowstone area, but again outside of the caldera, but no doubt showing up all over the place. A 4.2 will do that. Even a 3.5 will, but it's mostly prominent over here along the eastern side of the park. Now, since then, what have we noticed? Nothing major. Doesn't look like it has affected Yellowstone at all. Looks like a couple small microquakes here over the last hour or two. But sometimes I always worry about nearby quakes or something maybe setting off a significant swarm or setting off a fault system, which they can, no doubt. But doesn't look like anything major has happened yet, far as any type of swarming goes. Just that little small microquake activity within the last hour or two. But it is pretty cool to see. It's pretty interesting to note. And the caldera, at least on this map, you can kind of see it right here around the mountain ranges within this area. So it sits over here on the eastern side of the caldera. Outside of it, though, just outside the Mirror Plateau region, And I'm trying to see what type of fault systems are up here. Let me bring up the... I got hiccups all of a sudden. Let me bring up the fault map and see if we can't figure this out. Hold on a second here. Looks like I wonder why. Okay, kind of odd. I'm not for sure why that's not working there. Normally I pull up this page and I see quite a few of the faults in this area, but that's all right. We'll get back to it here in a little bit and check it out a little bit later. So, all right, so 4.2, and it looks like they did have a little microquake back building here with a 1.5 near the Silvergate, Montana area. Although if you look, it's well within the Wyoming region. Why Montana? Okay, maybe that's the only noticeable place. I would have said northwest Dakota, Wyoming. 13-kilometer depth for that 4.2, pretty deep, way down there, folks. So we'll see if this does, trigger any type of swarming with the Yellowstone area. There is fault systems out here, folks, and you got to remember that there's been numerous earthquakes, large earthquakes out here throughout the last 100 years or so, and it never triggered a Yellowstone eruption. So got to keep that in mind. There's plate dynamics at play here, not magma movement, although not counting that out. But it's way down there, 13.9 kilometers down there. But if we were looking at some major magma movement or intrusion, we would be seeing a pretty significant swarm of earthquakes, and not just microquakes, but we would probably be seeing a whole bunch of these 4s and 5s, which we're not seeing currently. But you never know, right? We're getting into that time of age where things are probably going to start happening. Western Texas, couple 2s and 3s kicking off out there. Oklahoma as well. Again, we checked the New Madrid zone. Looks pretty clear out there. California. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in here. There's all that earthquake activity from yesterday. The majority of it was scattered out and about all throughout the western portion of the state here. Most of it seemed like it was associated with the right around the Garlock Fault structure and to the east. Kind of track a line of activity here. Across southern Nevada and into portions of Utah. Activity today along the Garlock Fault, pretty quiet. There's some movement up in the Ridgecrest region, some activity around the Coso volcanic range up north as well. A little bit of swarming, it looks like there around the volcano, or the former volcano area, Coso range. A couple small microquakes. Southern portion of the state, a little activity up here north of, actually just outside of Santa Clarita. Looks like in the mountains here, 7 earthquakes of some pretty deep. Largest so far, 2.3 in this region. So things still on the uppity up in terms of earthquake activity and pressure along the west coast. So don't discount any possible movement here along the west coast area. I still think it's a good possibility. With all this activity we've been seeing and all the deep activity worldwide, something's brewing. 1.3 and a 1.2 Gulf of Alaska region, general Alaska area looking pretty minimal for the most part here. I do want to bring up a statement from the Alaskan Volcano Observatory. This article was put out yesterday. They raised the color code to yellow alert level. Advisory on the Cleveland volcano, which you see it right there in the yellow triangle. Let me go ahead and refresh this, make sure I got the latest data. This update was put out, like I mentioned here, yesterday, and AVO Cleveland yellow advisory, aviation color code and alert level moved to yellow advisory due to elevated surface temperatures and sulfur dioxide emissions. The latest complete report reads here. I'm not going to read through it all. But it looks like those elevated surface temperatures and whatnot have been detected by satellite data over the past couple days, representing a departure from background activity. So this volcano was actually unassigned. Now we're sitting at yellow advisory level. So we'll see what that does, right? Any type of surface temperature increase and sulfur dioxide increase is an obvious sign of possibly getting ready to produce an eruption. So we will keep an eye on this volcano along with any other volcanoes up there throughout the Alaska region, which are, there's numerous of them. There's lots and lots of them. Let me tell you, folks. Check out these. I tried to pull up the seismograph stations here from this region, but they're offline. See on this map layer over here? So check out the unmonitored volcanoes. Those are all unmonitored. Now you mix in the monitored volcanoes, there's quite a few. All up and down the Aleutian Trench. Got to remember the Pacific Plate, North American Plate, subduction zone. You get down there far enough, you can get the melting. You create these volcanoes upstream and at the surface. So most of them for now are in the green. There's a couple there in the orange, which is Watch, obviously. And then, of course, the Cleveland volcano. It doesn't look like they added it here on the map, but we've seen that on the previous page. All right, what else we got here? So we're just kind of watching that. There's that 4.1, 31 kilometers into the area. Let's see here. Stand by for just a second. All right, I was just looking to see if I can find something. All right, guys. Moving on past there. Let's see what we got. Any changes out here on the Big Island? Some movement out there around the southeast flank, and one earthquake. Maybe a couple out here around the Loihi Seamount. Got that submarine volcano out there, 2.1 and a 2.5. So a little noticeable increase in activity out there along the Big Island as well. No major changes there to report in that area. New Zealand area definitely has been seeing an uptick in activity. 4.6, that one deep yesterday with some subsequent surface movement. And see, this is what I'm glad when stuff like this happens. This kind of verifies what I'm trying to tell and speak out here. Is the deeper movement ultimately, no doubt, adds back building of pressure along the upstream area. In this case, the Kermadec Trench. We've seen a lot of deep movement here in this area over the past week or so, with only minimal, very minimal surface rupturing as far as earthquake activity goes upstream. So, but got to watch it. Definitely got to watch it because this 4.6 was deep, and then a little bit later, looks like quite a few hours later, we've seen that 5.1 within that same area, but at the surface level, 48 kilometers deep. So watching this region as a whole due to all the deep movement and only a couple spotty surface ruptures. I could go for any subduction zone. All right, guys, another one in the Java Trench area here within the last hour, 4.4. That one 282 kilometers deep. So quite a bit of deep movement here along the Java Trench as well. We have seen, I'm trying to think if we've seen some surface rupture up here. We really haven't. Not a whole lot of surface rupture along the Java Trench. Last 30 days of activity, about the same. Look at that. The majority of this movement inland. Well, there's one shallow one. Majority is pretty small or very deep. So this could be another area to watch pretty closely. It's a huge accumulator of stress in a short amount of time. One of the most active ones, and not a whole lot of activity kicking up here on the Java Trench recently, as far as large scale movement goes. So a lot of areas overdue, folks, for sure. Just best to be alert and on guard. Let's see here. I want to check and see if this flare has topped off or not. And it looks like it has. There we go. Seeing that round here? Round and round. Pretty good sized flare and a pretty lengthy one. If you look, that's more lengthy than any of them that we've seen in quite a while. Except for that X flare that we had a couple days ago. So it looks like this was a M2.6 that peaked out here, now starting to go down. But as you notice, things are ramping up here with these sunspots, and it's best to look at that one over there. That is a significant far side flare. I wonder if that's the that's got to be the M2.6 that we've seen on the solar flare detection chart. But it's a lengthy one, let me tell you. Holy smokes. All right, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. Make sure you guys like and subscribe while you're here. And click that notification bell so you can be updated on any events. We try to go live. Of course, we're running live right now, but we try to do updates on newsworthy events such as earthquakes or volcanic activity, or in this case here, next couple years, solar flare activity. That's going to be a big one here on this channel as we head into solar maximum here around the 2025 time period, right around June. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, click that bell, help this channel out, and we will chat you guys a little bit later tonight with the update. And unless something major happens, we'll be back. Have a good one, folks.